Okay, folks, well, join me on the line now. It is a real pleasure to have Biff Byford on the show. Welcome to Rock Posers Roulette.
Hi, it's good to be there.
Being a long-time fan myself, it is great to see that you guys are going out on the 35th anniversary tour.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a good party.
I'm going to say,
cover all our decades.
well, as a band that's, their strength has always been their live shows. Certainly, from my experience alone.
Well, we know how to. I mean, I know how to get the audience going a bit and have a bit of fun. It's some parts of it are serious, but other parts of it are just pure rock and roll party music.
What do you think is the sort of enduring legacy to the band? I mean, I know from a fan point of view, but for a band that has just, continued strength to strength for so long, I mean, on one part it's going to be absolutely gratifying, but what do you think the reason is behind it?
I think the songs got a lot to do with it, haven't they? Especially the, a lot to be said for the 80s. There's a big resurgence in that sort of, retro sort of 80s thing. I think a lot of fans that were fans and, remained fans that probably didn't come and see us as much live have come back to the live thing again. A lot of younger fans, new generation of fans have started getting into the older albums and buying the new albums. So I think generally, I just think because the band stayed pretty consistent through its career, and we're still releasing albums that are considered to be great, then I think that really helps.
I mean, some bands after this amount of time tend to drop off somewhat, but certainly Saxon is not a band that can be accused of that. I mean, personally, I think you've just still going from strength to strength.
Yeah, we don't cut any corners. We don't rely on our past sort of status. We're always making albums that we feel are relevant today. We're not a band that just play 3 super gigs. We're a band that tours around, taking the music to the people. Really, we're a bit more of a troubadour band, if you know what I mean. So we'll play to 90,000 people, in Germany, headline a show, and then 3-4 months later, we'll be doing some, 2,000-seater club. I mean, we like it.
Well, it's got to be said, you're one of the band that, thankfully, still does a proper British tour. Not just sort of 3 dates and that's it.
Yeah, we'd like to tour around. If you're going to take the music out, there's no point doing one gig in Newcastle and expecting everybody from Scotland and, the North East and everybody to go to that gig. I mean, I'm sure they would do, but we like the theatre touring of the UK. We like that sort of intimate, venue. Like what can I say? Some of the smaller theatres, or Rock City, although the capacity is over 2,000, it's still an intimate gig.
I mean,
we like that sort of feel. It's good. I think the fans like it as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is great. I mean, I've only ever seen you guys at, and I will use it by, I still regard as its proper name, as at Hammersmith Odeon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was always a pleasure seeing you guys there, and the fact that you got sort of the balcony versus downstairs in the sing-along, that was always one of the highlights I always found.
Yeah, it's a bit, definitely. I mean, we do Shepherd's Bush Empire now, which is a very similar venue, really, with the 3 balconies, so... Yeah, it's good fun. We do all sorts of different places. I mean, modern places to old Victorian theatres. To arenas sometimes. In Europe. So it's a very mixed thing. We like it though. We like it.
Obviously, you're working.
If we only played 5 shows a year in big arenas, although we'd obviously make more money, I'd get really bored. Do you know what I mean?
Obviously, you guys are working on a live DVD. Where's the footage from that being taken from? Where did you film it?
Well, there's some from the Steelhouse Festival, not last year before, I think,
right.
Where we brought the Eagle up that mountain there. And there's some Wacken footage. I think there's going to be a bit of footage from Bloodstock this year, I think, so they tell me. But yeah, they're just putting it together now, actually. And... I mean, Rick Wakeman's done the commentary for me, so good
fantastic!
Mate. So it all sounds really good. It's some good funny bits in it and serious bits as well. So, you know, but it's more about the band now rather than the band in the 80s, because we've already had a you know, a DVD documentary about that.
Yeah, I have got
some old stuff in there, but you know, it's more about this band really.
That was a fascinating documentary, it has to be said.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was a great one.
One thing I was going to bring up with you is an album which obviously came out last year, which was the Unplugged, which I absolutely adored and promptly went out and bought on vinyl. What prompted you to go and release that? Because I mean that was a little bit different for the band, but I thought it worked absolutely fantastic.
Well, you know, I mean, I've always seen. I don't like being predictable,
right,
to tell you the truth, and. You know, I just thought I had a few like ideas banging around. You know, we'd done some acoustic songs, and we'd done a couple of orchestrated songs. We'd done a few re-recorded things. So I just thought it'd be nice to put an interesting package together for the fans. And I mean, a lot of people have. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you go on YouTube and look at Wacken this year, we actually did that at the Wacken Festival with the orchestrated and the violin players. So. You know, it's pretty cool actually. So, you know, the whole thing was complete then.
Well, fingers crossed that bit actually goes on the live DVD then.
Don't think so. I think that will be a special show on its own right, I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, going forward, obviously the last album you released was obviously the St. George's Day Sacrifice, obviously, which is another superb live album. Are you already looking towards the next studio album, or are you just thinking I'm too busy?
We started writing. I mean, we're on a bit of a break at the moment. I mean, I did this Scintilla project with some friends. Meanwhile, you know, this prog rock album that's just come out. So I've been doing that, and that came out last week. So I mean, I've been pretty busy, but the band have been having a bit of a break. So I think we're starting again after the last festival, which is on the 13th of September, and then we'll start kicking in and finish the songs really.
Are you someone who has to sit, say, in a studio to write songs, or are you someone who writes on the road, or a mixture of the two?
Mixture of everything, really. I mean, I'll do a lot of the lyrics and melodies at home on my own, and you know, some of the guys will do guitar riffs and send them to me sometimes, and then we'll go in a room as well. We'll go in a studio and have a session together. It just depends, really. We do all sorts of stuff. There's no real one way that we do it, if you know what I mean.
Mm. How much input do the other guys have on the writing process?
Well, they have as much as they want to have, really. You know, I mean, it's the door's open, really. I mean, they're not really any singers in the band per se, so they don't really write lyrics and come up with melodies much. Right. But yeah, musically, they have as much input as they want, really. You know, I mean, if they write 15 song ideas, then we'll probably pick 10 of those. But usually it's the four of them and me have separate ideas and put them forward, you know. But some people have more ideas than others. That's how it goes, you know.
It's not a case of then you start arguing about what goes onto an album. You tend to find that you work well together.
No, we don't have that argument. We don't really have that argument because usually I'm producing with somebody or on my own.
Right.
So usually I'll get the last choice of what goes on the album.
Well, I was going to be saying, I'm going to take you right away back in time now to obviously when the band started out. I mean, my first, shall we say, exposure band was Wheels of Steel. That was the very first, one of the very first rock albums I ever bought. And that is going back a long time. It just probably makes both of us feel very, very old.
Either that one or Strong Arm of the Law was their first album. They actually went out and bought. I think maybe you were in that generation between the sort of 70s and the beginning of the 80s when the punk thing was big.
Mm.
You know, there's a lot of people got turned on then to a different, you know, new rock basically.
Well, I was living in Sheffield at the time, funnily enough. So you guys really were probably, you know, the local band if that. Although obviously you're, you know, from...
Yeah, I suppose it was Leopard were, yeah, that area. I mean, Leopard were a young band. They were around that time as well, weren't they? with their EP, was it? Some On Through the, I don't know what it's called, the EP they had, but they were around as well. You know, they had a On Through the Night, didn't they? Which was like,
that's right,
around 1980, wasn't it? Something like that.
It would be around about that time. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny. I always remember that with the sort of the school chums, there was sort of, it was quite a split camp. There were sort of the Saxon fans on one side and the Def Leppard fans on the other, and sort of never the twain should meet at the time.
Well,
Obviously,
I
things have
suppose
changed
Leppard were a
now.
little bit more physical, Thin Lizzy-ish. I suppose they were a little bit more song orientated than we were. We were a little bit more aggressive, weren't we? We were more of a biker band type image thing, you know. So I suppose we sort of bridged the gap between punk rock and sort of hard rock, you know. So I suppose a little bit similar to Motorhead, I suppose.
Well, I suppose there's always going to be. You were always sort of on the edge of the new wave of British heavy metal, really.
Yeah, you know, it was a new generation of fans, really. I mean, that's what it was all about. I don't really know the music was that different. I mean, I suppose we played fast, you know, very fast rock music interspersed with really melodic, anthemic songs. So I suppose in that sense we were quite focused, if you know what I mean.
One thing I did want to ask you was regarding the Destiny album. Obviously, that's always had sort of mixed reaction from fans. I personally like it.
Well, it got mixed reactions from the band as well, because I think at that time the band were going through a massive crisis, you know, and
sure.
We had different members in there, and it wasn't the same, and you know, the chemistry and the sort of, you know, it was just very strange in Saxon at that time. So I think that was really the last album that sort of Saxon did, really. After that, we sort of moved on and went back to a more sort of classic style, I think.
I was going to say more back to your roots. Was it on that album, was it something that you were looking at trying to fit in with a change in the scene, or were you under some pressure from the label?
Well, I think the label were a bit desperate for us to have a hit, and they put a lot of keyboards on the album, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which wasn't really Saxon, to tell you the truth. And you know, people don't know this, but really, at the end of the first sessions, they came to us and said, we need a track. You know, we need a track. Really, we're a track short. So I came up with the idea of Ride Like the Wind, and you know, I think it worked really. I think it's the best song on the album. Our version of it, anyway. You know, and the record company bought into that, and you know, made a video, and you know, that's what it is really. That album really is. Most people know that album because of Ride Like the Wind cover.
I'll say probably if there's one thing that album did do, I guess really it exposed you more in the States.
Yeah, I think it probably did. I mean, I think that the biggest album we had in the States was probably Crusader. But I don't know if that was because it was our first big headline tour with Accept supporting us, but that was the most. I mean, the album, it's between that and Power and the Glory were our biggest albums in America.
Right.
Destiny did great. It did do good, but it didn't have the same excitement surrounding it as Power and the Glory and Crusader.
Maybe that's because, I mean, certainly, obviously, a lot of Americans look at a certain type of British rock music with certainly an awful lot of love and nostalgia, and they sort of grasp onto that. Maybe,
and it was also a different band, different dynamics in the band, you know, and a slightly different sound, and maybe they just didn't buy into it, I don't know.
How do you find the audiences in the States now?
Oh, great. I mean, the last tour we did was really great, you know. I mean, we have a great fan following there. I would say it's an older audience we have in America.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the same for everybody, really, whether it be Maiden or Judas Priest or Motorhead. I mean, there are. The trouble is, if you're playing on a certain level, I mean, a lot of young kids can't get in to see you.
Right.
Because, you know, they're 21 age limit.
Of course.
So it's a little bit restricted. But yeah, we have a good following in the major cities. We do really well. You know, we can go there. In fact, we're probably going there sort of February next year.
Obviously, you said that you're seeing younger people coming into the audiences, certainly in the UK and Europe. I mean, I've said on many an occasion now that I would say the rock scene in Europe is probably the strongest it's been now for probably at least the last 10 years. Would you agree with that?
I would say probably 10 to 15 years, yeah, definitely. It's been on the rise. I mean, live music's very popular now, and there's some festivals everywhere, aren't there?
There's so many festivals.
So the exposure is, it's quite high. I mean, a lot of TV and radio stations lock into festivals now. So we only have to look at Metallica at Glastonbury. They were all over them like pop stars, weren't they? So,
Of course, I mean...
It sort of works, that, doesn't it? When a big metal band get in on a festival that's considered to be more sort of Radio 1 orientated, if you know what I mean. I suppose it opens it up for other people.
Well, I mean, certainly there's an awful lot more TV coverage, you say, regarding festivals. I mean, you think the likes of Sky with their Arts Channel, I mean, they're putting an awful lot more rock and metal on now than they certainly have done before.
Yeah, I mean, we were on there from Donington. We'll probably be on there from Bloodstock as well. So, yeah, they're good. They're good. I mean, they do know that there is a massive... I mean, you only have to go to these festivals with 90,000 people. I mean, obviously, that's a big audience, isn't it, to lock into? You know what I mean?
Well, it does always amaze me, that certain areas of the mainstream press still almost doggedly refuse to cover stuff. And then you think, how can you ignore something as big as that?
Well, yeah, they do that, but I think they do it to their own detriment. I mean, I think Radio 1 have sort of got it together because they are every major festival. I think sometimes, Team Rock and Planet Rock seem to be getting it together. It's Scuzz TV do quite a lot of work on festivals. So it is quite good. I mean, it's never going to be like it was in the 80s.
No, it's not.
Where we were on radio every hour. I mean, that's for younger bands to do now.
Well, I guess how some things have changed is the fact that you actually hear rock music on radio too now, and or is it almost a mainstream
some
track?
Of the newer bands, my son's just been to Reading, and he was raving about this band called Royal Blood. Who, he played me a few tracks. They're quite heavy, actually. They're sort of young and new, and they're under the radar. But actually, some of their stuff just sounds like Zeppelin. It's like full on. You know what I mean? It's just a young, new band, really. So I think they do play rock music. It's just what they perceive to be metal or hard rock.
They do like to label stuff.
Pardon?
They do like to label stuff and pigeonhole stuff.
Yeah, it's all pigeonhole stuff. It's down to the producers, isn't it, that pick the tracks and what bands they like.
You say there are a lot of new bands coming through in what I would call just a sort of a good, honest hard rock band with sort of a hint of blues influence in the background. So maybe we are going back to basics.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, Biff, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Yep.
It's fantastic that you guys are still going so strongly as well.
Yeah, we're doing good. I mean, especially in the UK. I mean, the profile in the UK has gone up, and it's all down to fans being great and supporting us and us working hard and keep getting out there and keep doing the right things, really. And it's going to be a great party. We're basically we are featuring the big 3 albums, but we're going to be doing all other tracks as well. So it should be a great party, this tour. And it's near Christmas, which is always good.
Well, of course, folks, the tour kicks off November the 30th at Bristol Academy and then rounds things off rather nicely December 13th at Shepherd's Bush Empire, of course, in London. Biff Byford, thanks ever so much for coming on Rock Posers Roulette and hopefully speak to you again in the future.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Cheers
See you
now.
later. Bye.
Bye-bye.